What's up, everybody? Welcome to CFP Talks. My name is Joe Nissom, and today we have an outstanding episode for you. It is the final video and our final part of our conversation with Andy Panko, and I'm so excited to share it with you. In this video, we talk a bit about bedside manner. How does Andy talk to his clients? How has that changed and evolved over time? Raman and I give you some insight into the way that I used to chat with clients, especially as a young advisor, into becoming a little bit more of a seasoned advisor. Raman talks about how it has evolved for him as well. And Andy tells us a little bit about what he looks for when he's hiring somebody. So if you're using this CFP to kind of go into this RIA space, or maybe you've been curious about it, or maybe you're thinking about it, or maybe you're already past your CFP, then today is an awesome conversation. And I highly suggest that you go and watch part 1 and 2. So this part of the conversation also makes sense. Now, we have some very special offers for you underneath this video. Number 1, please make sure to like and subscribe. Number 2, make sure that you take a look at the QBank that we use with our class. So if you're interested in the QBank that we use with our course, feel free to click on the link below. We have a 7-day money back guarantee. You don't like it for any reason, send it right back. Money will be right back to your credit card. No questions asked. Number 3, we have an assessment link there. If you're interested in chatting with me and you want to say, hey, Joe, I don't know where I am on the CFP journey. Please help me break it down. Please help me understand how I can get across the finish line. Click on that assessment link right underneath this video, and let's make your next attempt your last. I want to talk about something with you, Andy, that's been on my mind in terms of, even the way that we run our business, which is our bedside manner. How has your bedside manner changed from when you started the business in 2019 to now? How has it evolved? Do you feel like you talk to clients differently? Do you feel like that's actually permeated into your messaging, in your videos, in your social campaigns, and things of that nature?
I don't think so. This is one of the intangibles that you can't say, do this, do that. Like how you speak, how you talk, your level of empathy or lack thereof, your ability to think on your toes, whatever. Some people just come off and present better than others. Some people have a more calming, reassuring vibe than others. And I'm not saying you can't teach that, learn that, go to classes for that, practice for that. But there will be some things, intangible things about people that will hold them back compared to others. And it's like, I can't quite detail or describe it, but like I know it when I see it. Like there's some advisors I talk to, super sharp folks, technical knowledge is top notch, but they just like, I don't know, you just talk to them, it's like, this guy's uncomfortable. Like he's fidgety or doesn't quite seem comfortable and confident in what he's saying. That's going to hurt for trying to get trust, especially in a business like this where there's so much money and trust involved. You have to make the people comfortable from whatever, not in a false way, but like genuinely, authentically get the people comfortable with you. And a lot of advisors will struggle. And I don't have a magic fix for that. Some people just simply aren't cut out to be like this comforting, soothing, confident, persuasive in a non-greasy way sort of persona. But let's assume that's not a showstopper for you. I don't know. My bedside manner is what it is. I think this has always been me. I think having worked in the corporate world for so long, and a lot of my experience was around hedge funds and private equity funds and doing due diligence of their managers and chief operating officers and stuff. Like I'm comfortable around people much smarter than me who know more than me about what I'm asking them about and being able just to deal with it and present myself well. So part of that is nature versus nurture, right? Like some of it was trained from my 19 years of corporate world. Some of it was just, I don't know, I think this is just sort of my natural speaking and presenting ability. So I think I have a good filter. I think I can read people reasonably well. I know when I can make stupid, cheesy jokes to people, and I know when like that's going to fall flat and this person doesn't want to hear that. And you can't teach that, I don't think. I know this isn't answering your question, but no, the short answer is no. I don't think I've really changed my bedside manner. I'm fairly blunt, fairly direct. I don't take myself too seriously. I take what I do seriously, but not myself seriously.
Yeah.
And for the right people, that resonates with them. Like this is how I dress when I have prospect meetings and client. I'm in a t-shirt and I'm wearing like 10-year-old Old Navy shorts that are partly worn
Mm.
out in the back. But you can't see that. This is me, and people who want this and appreciate me for my knowledge and how I can interpret and apply things and walk them through the hairy angles of retirement planning, they don't care what I look like. There's other folks out there who do. They want to go to the fancy office with the mahogany paneling and the dude who's acting a poser wearing a real fancy suit. Like if you want that, that's not me. So I think I turn those people off because this is what you get when you see me on video and stuff. And that's fine. It's a great screening tool in that regard because I'm not getting people hiring me under fake pretenses that I'm pretending to be something or someone that I'm not. Um,
So would you give somebody that advice that don't change who you are because it's going to appeal to somebody? And I feel like a lot of advisors are trying to be something that they're not, which is, sometimes you watch it and that feels off, weird,
yeah,
cringy.
that's a tough one. I've thought about this a lot. I used to always say, be your authentic self. To hell with any barriers or fit, like be you. It's going to turn off the wrong people. It'll attract the right people. The more I thought about it, was like you have to earn the right to get away being you. If you have some rough edges, if you dress like a slob, if you talk off the cuff, whatever, you kind of have to earn that. Meaning, you need to have something else to back up and support why you're good, even with this unpolished demeanor and persona you put forth. In my case, my resume not looks good. I don't want to sound high on myself, but it looks fairly impressive, right? The places I've
Mm.
worked, the things I've done, the credentials I have, the schooling I have. So I think even if I do look like a slob and talk like a real person and don't use fancy big words, I've earned, like people can look at the rest of me and be like, okay, this guy must know what he's talking about. So I appreciate and respect that he's not taking himself too seriously.
Mm.
If you're 22 and you don't have the backing and support to be like, this guy clearly must know his stuff. So what if he's cracking jokes and talking like, whatever, some weirdo from New Jersey? You haven't yet earned the right to be completely unfiltered and completely authentic. So in that sense, I do think you do need to be more conscious and intentional about, I don't say playing a role like you're someone you're not, but be a little more professional, be a little more business minded in how you look, how you talk, how you dress, because that does matter more then than it does for me. I think, at least
Mm.
that's my guess,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
What do you think about that, Raman?
No, it's funny you say that. I think the biggest bedside manner that I changed myself into was when I was younger, I tend to use a lot more technical jargon when I was trying to explain stuff. And I think part of it was because I was trying to, show my competence, like I know what I'm talking about. But now that I'm a seasoned advisor, like, yeah, I'm not seasoned at building my practice, but I am still a seasoned CFP, seasoned
Yeah.
advisor. I talk in, I call it normal language, simple language. And my clients love that because, when, like you said, the resume matters, they look at my resume, they're like, okay, Morgan Stanley, Fidelity Investments, right? Worked at RIA, CFP for, 10 years, all that, right? It shows like, well, this guy probably knows what he's talking about at this point.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is I remember, so I have a cousin who's a physician, right? Now he's been a physician for some time now. He's 40 years old now. And I remember 8 years ago, I went up to him and I asked him a question, and he used all these like fancy medical terms to me. And he goes like, "Well, you don't know that?" I'm like, "How would I know that? I'm not a doctor, dude." Right?
Yeah.
And that turned me off so quickly about his, him being a physician. I'm like, dude, like if that's how you talk to your clients or your patients, they're lost. And then I think that's what resonated with me when he said those things to me like 8 years ago. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be that doctor. I don't want to be that financial planner to my clients where I use like, well, the regression squared of your portfolio is doing this, therefore the standard deviation must be this. And I'm gonna make people sound like feel stupid. And that means I think I'm gonna lose a lot of people, a lot of trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to your point, I think the best thing somebody, even if they're newer, like perhaps not crack jokes, but be able to simplify things to people so well. Like, I don't care if you're 25, 23, 22 years old. Can you simplify a concept to a client or a 60-year-old where, the client is worried. They're worried about the stock market. And yes, you haven't experienced a market crash, but you could say, hey, you know what, based on the modern portfolio theory, which shows blah, 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 it means that, you know what, if you have a good portfolio that is tailored to your risk appetite, that means you're comfortable with this type of loss. You're gonna be fine as long as you have decent amount of cash. Like, just simplify things to people. And I think that itself will build so much credibility, because the guy's gonna be like, wow, like, yeah, you might be a young rookie, 22-year-old, 23-year-old, but you were able to help me understand what I wanted to learn or what I wanted to hear. So that's my take on that.
I think that's great, and that is definitely something, in my opinion, everyone should strive for. We work in a very technical industry with a lot of jargon and concepts that vast majority of people they're not everyday concepts for folks, right?
Yeah.
You have to walk that line of you have to again goes back to understand the stuff really well, basic table stakes, be able to explain it in a relatable way, and it's a hard line to walk. You don't want to, if you just throw it on big terms, like never use the word contango or normal backwardation, like really technical finance terms in front of clients, unless they ask you about it. But they're just going to sit there and nod their head. They have no idea what we're talking about, and they're going to probably be too ashamed or embarrassed to say it or ask. That's not a good relationship. On the flip side, don't talk so down to people. Don't dumb it down so much that you're insulting their intelligence. And every client's going to receive this messaging and have different levels of understanding, amongst one another. You have to try to find that mix where you're getting through and explaining very technical, meaty, in-depth terms, but in relatable, plain
Mhm.
English that's not so watered down that you're insulting them.
Yeah.
That's a skill. That is something I think a lot of people can learn more about. Some people it comes more natural than others, but yeah, I'd say that's my bedside manner. Is always, I think, always been able to explain, to teach, to get stuff across that's technical, but in a relatable way without sounding like I'm trying to talk to children.
Yeah.
I think it's tough to balance because trying to simplify things is much harder than it sounds.
Mhm.
It
Especially
is,
from the
yeah.
teaching perspective, and we try to always draw analogies and sometimes it's just tough. With certain things, it's just especially as you get into the more technical jargon of our job. And I think, CFP is kind of taking this in a direction where more and more of the exam feels like it's more about the relationship and suitability. Do you feel like more of what you do inside of a client meeting is, hey, I'm here, I care, let me worry about this technical stuff? Or do you find that clients actually care a lot about that technical stuff? Or is it they're more, we're hands in, but we're fingers out? Andy, we trust you. And how have you been able to kind of build some of that trust with them?
I suspect my firm, like most others, clients are a mixed bag in terms of what their knowledge is, how technical, how involved they are or want to be in the nitty gritty. I do have some clients that are just like, Andy, whatever you tell me, fine. Like, I trust you. I don't know this stuff. I don't want to know about it. Just do it. And others who do want to see stuff modeled and analyzed to the nth degree and
Yeah.
try to optimize every possible variable over the next 40 years and then everything in between.
Yeah.
You kind of have to tailor what you do and how deeply you do it depending on the client. Um, I'd say as a whole, clients are hands in, fingers out for the most part. I think the other part of the question was, what did I do to get people comfortable with me? This is where social media had such a hugely beneficial impact for me. Was I have had and still have so much stuff out there between the Facebook group, where in addition to writing, people being able to read my thoughts and my responses. I also did a weekly live video in there every Wednesday for 2 years. And so people were able to like ask questions live, see how I respond live. That was a great way for me to answer questions and evidence my knowledge and my way of thinking through things and how I would apply certain concepts live and on the spot in front of people in a not sales environment. It's not like these people, I had to rope them into coming to some dinner at Seasons 52 where their defenses were up about getting sold. They're sitting home in their living room
Yeah.
asking this guy questions for free, some dude in New Jersey with no gates attached to it, no lead capture, no like, hey, give me your email, then I'll let you ask me a question. It was just freely sharing my knowledge. What's in my head, you ask, I'll give it. And that was so incredibly powerful. I started doing YouTube videos as well. Same thing. I think people got comfortable with me, or they didn't, but people got comfortable with me, what I know, my technical knowledge, my ability to discuss and explain, all from just casually observing me from the internet, right? Without ever having to be in front of me, without worrying about me trying to sell them. So that's what did it. By the time they reached out, when they decided, okay, I think I want some professional service, and I think Andy's the one I want to call to find out more about it, like the sales was already done basically. They already knew what they're getting, what they're not getting, what I do, what I don't do. They already got comfortable with me from all these videos and whatever. So that helped tremendously. So I want to say the trust was largely already established prior to relationship starting. I mean, the other element of trust was once a relationship starts, roll money over. That's another big step to roll, a couple $1,000,000 of your life savings from Fidelity to Schwab. Now, this guy in New Jersey they never met in person has control over that money. That was a big leap of faith, but I think like anything, you serve people well, you show them through actions that you're doing the right thing, that you're being responsive and forthcoming and explaining what you're doing and why. The trust follows. I don't think I have any clients where trust was ever an issue, either initially or further building that trust through the relationship. You didn't ask this, but like there's some relationships that naturally end because what they wanted has since been met and like they feel they don't need the ongoing service anymore, or we're just not good fits like we thought we were personality wise. Like there's people I've asked to leave, and there have been people who have voluntarily left for different reasons, never on bad terms. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, it wasn't a trust issue is what I'm saying. It's just like the scope seems to have ran its course from what they wanted versus what they want now.
Yeah.
So Joe, I have one last question for Andy.
Yeah.
So Andy, as you know, we're working with a lot of aspiring CFP professionals who are trying to get their CFP designation. And a lot of these people, they want to, grow out of their careers, as I mentioned earlier. When we look at the independent side of the world, I know you were initially planning on being a solo advisor, then now you brought on a couple of, team members, and who knows where Keenon Financial is going to go down the road. I don't even think you have an idea on how big this company can grow.
I have no idea,
right?
no.
So when we look at independent planners, because, you obviously have a very robust network of independent advisors, RIAs, IARs. What type of qualifications, obviously having a CFP is the number one qualification, but what type of qualifications, what type of candidate, RIAs like yours and some of these other, RIAs that are looking for for these type of CFP professionals?
That's a tough one. I think it's very different if you're asking that question to a large national firm with hundreds or thousands of employees versus small firms like mine where it's 1, 2, maybe 3 employees. At the larger places, you want someone that has, the basic qualifications. CFP definitely helps, has some experience, cool. They're going to plug them in. They're going to do a function like any big place. You more or less sit in a silo. You have your assigned role. If you leave, yeah, I mean, it stings for a little bit for a few weeks, but the company moves on without you. Not a big deal. They'll simply replace you a few months later and whatever. Versus in small places, we need to be much more intentional about who we hire. Are they truly a good fit? Are they truly going to stay long term? Can we truly keep them satisfied, motivated, challenged, compensated well, et cetera? Because if you're a solo person that hires someone and that person leaves, that's crushing. Like you just lost 50% of your capacity depending how you structure that person. If you're I don't even know how many employees like Fisher has. If you're a Fisher with, I'm going to make this up, 5,000 employees and one leaves, so what? Like they'll replace you next week. And they'll move on. And a month later, it'll be like, Andy who? Like, I forgot who that guy was that left. So I don't know, like I can speak from the perspective of a small place where every hire is hugely, hugely important and impactful. My biggest concern is losing an employee. Technical stuff I can teach them. I mean, they got to be smart people. They have to have at least a minimum level of knowledge. But I just want them to not leave, because once they join and get integrated into doing whatever it is they're doing, if they leave, it's just completely, it's like devastating. So I try to hire folks, and these have been the 2 advisors who have joined, where This sounds like ageist to say, but I'm concerned about hiring someone who's 25, super eager, wants to take on the world, wants and needs a lot of growth and trajectory and management and coaching and counseling. And they're going to want equity ownership eventually, probably sooner rather than later. That's tough to manage as a small firm. If you're not giving that person everything they want and need, they're going to leave you. And I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. It just is what it is. There's often not as many opportunities or growth or long-term stuff to happen at a really small place as there is with a 10,000 person firm. So the two folks I hired were like career 2.0. They already had better part of 20 years of corporate life like I did, wanted out of that. Now they're like sort of second stage. They're not retired by any means, but they want something smaller, more flexible, more fulfilling, ideally virtual and no commute. That's what I provide. And so for these people, and they get paid, I think, very well, above average for what they do compared to the rest of the industry. So I'm hoping I'm doing and providing everything I can to satisfy what these folks want and are looking for in life and in work at this point. So I think the risks of them leaving are lower than someone who's 25 and their life is going to change and what they want is going to change, right? Now, nothing's guaranteed, right? What if life happens? They need to stop working for personal reasons. I can't control that and I can't hold it against them. That's my biggest fear. But I like to think that I'm trying to hedge and mitigate those risks as much as possible by who I'm hiring and what they're looking for and et cetera. The other thing is because I'm hiring advisors, I'm not hiring like support staff for me because I don't want to lever myself and my time up. Like I'm good with my 50 clients. These other advisors have their own clients that they serve. They need to be marketable and smart and able to think on their feet and good at planning, if not when they get hired soon after. And so what's good about that is that they have impressive looking resumes of prior experience and education. Both have undergrads, both have master degrees. They both had CFP prior to starting with me. Like that was a big hurdle. It gives them some, again, on paper, it gives them a lot of credibility compared to not having it. They both I had them both get the RICP prior to starting with me. So that was letters after their name as well. One's a CFA, one's a CPA already. Like all these letters and I don't just say optics because these are real legit experiences and knowledge behind them, but these things all helped remove the potential roadblock of this person's got like nothing special about them on paper, right? So that part was gotten rid of. And I know they're smart people from the experiences they had in the schools they went to, like they're both smarter than I am. So that's what I look for. Now, different firms are different. Again, if a firm is looking for a junior advisor, they want someone 1 or 2 years experience, CFP ideally, just smart, go-getter, willing to learn, like, right? And obviously the basics of communicate well. I thought this was BS and fluff in college when they said communication skills and interpersonal skills are the biggest things you can have. I get it now. After working in corporate world and like now being a hiring manager, 100%. Those two things are universal skills, unless you're like a coder sitting in a closet, just like typing code in a computer all day. If you're around people in any capacity, you need to communicate well. You need to have good interpersonal skills. Sounds cheesy, but it is so painfully true.
Yeah.
Very long answer, sorry, but hopefully
No.
that's
We all want to hire people who we want to work with.
Yeah.
that too. Yeah, just watch the bias of like don't hire someone who thinks like you necessarily, right? Like you want someone who brings different perspectives and thoughts. But yes, it has to be someone like you enjoy being around, talking to, working with. If not, it's gonna fail from day one.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
true.
Joe.
I spend a lot more time with you than I do my fiance during the day. I was like, it's got to be enjoyable because we can, I think as an employer, we can take care of some of the technical know-how,
Mhm.
but it's
Yes,
very hard to take care of the interpersonal stuff.
that's
Very
either
hard.
there or it's not. Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Great
Andy,
point.
thank you very much for doing this. This was wildly insightful. For everybody watching, there are gems in here and a lot of golden nuggets that you could take away and implement and think about, or even if you're at that point where you're starting to think about, hey, this is maybe something I'd like to do. I think Andy outlined an incredible roadmap for you and things that you need to absolutely think about. And thanks for doing this. And we hope we can do it again soon and talk a little bit more about some other stuff.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate being on, and it's great what you're doing. I think this is getting the CFP is one thing, but it's like you got it. like, now what do I do? How do I actually put it to use in the most effective way? So this is a really cool idea you got. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, we will see you on our episode next week. We'll see you then. Take care.